Do you actually have to be on cocaine to be on this podcast?
It's a great day to be a Wildcat!
Cocaine?
Surfing.
Oh man. Such a fun theme song. What's up, everybody? Today is Friday, August 25th, and today we're publishing a new little mini show to get your day going with the latest updates from K-State this week and anything random that might be on one of our minds. Welcome to a quick hit of Cocaine Willie, and this is Fireball Matt. Joining me today is the good chef in his car, hopefully being very safe while he's driving. What's up, chef? How are you?
What's going on, Matt? You know what? I'm gravy. I just got off of work. I got some stuff on my mind that I want to talk to you about. You know, we're going to take this quick bump, baby.
Love it. Yeah. I'm excited for these types of shows. Just gives us an opportunity to maybe talk to each other. Maybe it'll be solo. We'll see. We'll have our friend Bob Trollsby on at some point as well. But a few updates going on this Friday. Wanted to talk to Chef about some of the updates from an injury perspective with the K-State football team, who might be ready for Southeast Missouri State, who might not be. We're going to talk through some of the K-State football captains announcements. They made that on Monday. And then we'll also talk about some realignment news as kind of come to fruition here the past 24, 48 hours regarding the Atlantic Coast Conference and maybe having some Pacific Coast teams join in that. But let's start off with the K-State injury report. We know that there's three main players that are right now being talked about pretty heavily: Uso Seumalo, Daniel Green, and Christian Duffy. We know that Christian Duffy, he got hurt in the offseason, still recovering. Uso Seumalo and Daniel Green getting a little bit banged up here in fall camp. Coach Kleiman has said recently all three will potentially miss at least a game, but has left the door and trending upwards towards potentially seeing Uso and Daniel Green next Saturday when we play Southeast Missouri State, maybe for a few snaps. Who knows how much or if they will get in at all. Stan Weber did give some insight into Christian Duffy. He thinks that he might be back by the Missouri game, which would be huge for that game in Columbia. Chef, should we be concerned if we don't see any of these guys play next Saturday?
Honestly, I wouldn't be too concerned about, you know, the absence of all three. I think if we really wanted to extend, you know, their recovery time by a week, because, you know, how Kleiman set it up, it sounded like all of them are minor injuries out.
Oh no, we lost the chef. Well, while he's kind of getting back into it, I don't know. I'm not necessarily super concerned. I keep staring
This
at
possible
his face.
week. Kidding. You're kidding.
I'm kidding. I'm not kidding.
Okay. God damn it. This is just this one spot. Okay. We can work this out. Bob can edit this out. Okay,
Yeah, we
but
can edit
you know,
it out.
Uso and Daniel Green, their injuries being so minor to the point where if just 1 week of full recovery, God damn it, or Uso has been the questionable one on whether he really could make it back. It sounds like Daniel Deuce Green is probably the closest thing we got to coming, probably being a sure bet that he'll play week one. But for me, I want to see our whole team out there. So if they're ready to go week one, just throw them out there. Even if it's in limited time, just get them that game rep speed and get them some action.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, even a limited number of snaps, 5, 10 snaps, I think is hugely beneficial, especially for Uso, a guy who's going to get thrown into the Wolves a little bit as the week 1 expected starter. I would also be remiss in saying we really need to find some depth in that defensive tackle position. I know we spoke about that in our defensive preview that posted a little bit ago, but Jevon Banks, Damian Ilalio are going to be names that they need to get some snaps. And so if Uso is able to play, just a little bit next week, next Saturday, that's great. Trying to get him some game reps, get into game speed. We also need to maintain the fact that, he might still be a little bit injured. So you don't want to throw him too much out there, but we really need to get those guys some time so that they can be prepped for Big 12 play.
Yeah, Damian, that would be the biggest, because really his one snap that he can take claim to fame is in the Big 12 championship game. We need to get him more and more reps. And obviously, Jevon Banks, his camp didn't seem, too shrouded in, quality. So that he's kind of behind the 8 ball. He needs to get game reps. If he's the number 2 behind Damian as a starter, if Uso is not able to play, I think those would be huge reps.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be very interesting to see where that goes. Now, the linebacking position, of course, probably one of our strongest position cores, and Daniel Green is going to be a guy that if he isn't able to play, I'm not going to be super disappointed if we're trying to get him to 100%, because there are some guys that maybe need some snaps, especially some of the transfers that we have. Terry Kirksey, some of the freshmen might get some play as well. So Daniel Green, of course we want to see him on the field because he's such an excellent football player and our quarterback, I would say, for the defense. But if he's not able to get there, who knows? Christian Duffy is another guy that we have just such a strong offensive line in that position group that we really want Christian Duffy to be at 100%, but we know that behind him, we have some of the depth that is going to really need to come to fruition, especially with any substitutions at play, getting guys who might have some additional energy out on the sideline. But some of those younger talents as well on the offensive line, can they come in, replace him for the first couple games? I think so. But Chef, I don't know if you have any thoughts on those two.
Okay, for linebacker, who would you want to see? Would you want to see Jake Clifton move into middle linebacker and, limit the depth at Sam, even though we would have like Toby Osunsami kind of being the backup at that position and getting more reps for him? Or how would you want to see it play? Do you want to see Terry Kirksey thrown out there and getting his first career start at Kansas State?
Yeah, I mean, he was a very heralded guy coming from Iowa Western, and so I would love to see him potentially. If Daniel Green is not 100%, I think holding him out just a little bit for one game would be huge. And getting Terry Kirksey to start in a middle linebacker position, are they going to maybe roll some other people around? Maybe we'll see Austin Romaine, the freshman who has gotten a lot of name recognition here in the fall. I know Bo Palmer is another guy in the middle linebacker position that we've heard his name maybe once or twice. Who knows? But I'm a big proponent that if Daniel Green specifically, if he's not at 100%, I don't know if this is a game where him out on the field is the risk there for the reward of the first game. I don't know. And I don't know if you can hear me on this, but
no,
okay.
I agree. I think the risk, because we have such depth behind, at that linebacker position where we can go multiple different ways, I think keeping him out would be probably the best thing to do. But also, I mean, you just want to get reps for Daniel as well. He probably was so limited in fall camp that, game speed, you kind of have to keep up, even though he's like a 12th year senior. But when you touched on O-line just a second ago, I've been replaying this thought in my head. Who was the best 5 offensive linemen? Are we sacrificing keeping Cooper Beebe at left guard to have the best 5 offensive linemen, or do we move him to right tackle and have Taylor Portier and Hadley KT at left tackle? What would be the best option while Christian Duffy's out?
Yeah, I actually like that idea of potentially moving him over to right tackle and getting guys like Taylor Portier and whatnot over there. It is true. You want to try and get the 5 best guys out there. And I mean, Christian Duffy, no question, is I would say one of those. But in the interim here, Taylor Portier was a guy last year that, I mean, getting injured in that first game was really kind of heartbreaking because he was just so excited for the season, the 2022 season. But being able to come back and we've heard, some really good things from him and rehabbing back from that injury. It may be the option. It may be the one thing that you kind of have to do is just maybe shuffle people around a little bit for the first game, knowing, the position that you're in, is to, I mean, just come out of the game unscathed with the ability to, be 1-0 and go into the Troy game. So it'll be very interesting to see come Saturday, that particular position group, who comes out on the field for the first play and how many players they shuffle in and out on the offensive line during that game to get them some game reps.
I could see, honestly, potentially 10 guys, right?
Yeah,
could you see?
quite possibly.
If it is Carver Willis at right tackle, you have Joe Pistori behind him. You have Drake Beckwith that's been heralded redshirt freshman. You have obviously all the depth at the guard position with Taylor Portier, Hadley Panzer, with Sam Hecht, Sam Shields at the center position. I think it's just there's a ton of options, and no matter what combination we do for this SEMO game, I think. Now, don't get me wrong, SEMO is going to be a strong opponent, but I think for this opponent, having them just rotate guys and see what the best is, I think that's the best option.
Yeah. Hey, I agree with you. And again, be very interesting to see how the offensive line not just looks, but what the strategy is come next Saturday. Another topic of discussion, just very quickly, we did see on Monday, K-State football did announce their captains for this upcoming season. We had 7 names, 7 guys that were selected to be captains, 3 on the offense, 3 on the defense, and 1 on special teams. If you did not see the news, the offensive captains, Will Howard, Cooper Beebe, Hayden Gillum. On defense, Kobe Savage, Daniel Green, Austin Moore, and on special teams, Seth Porter. I would say no real surprise for any of the names. You could maybe say for special teams, Rand Plattner, but Seth Porter's been in the program for a while now. And so I'm not surprised by any of the 7 names. Chef, I mean, were there any surprises on your end with any of these guys? Somebody you expected to get selected, somebody that, you're surprised didn't?
You actually just reminded me of Plattner. I'm a little shocked that he didn't make the special teams captain. I thought, now that I'm thinking about it, that kind of would make sense. But Seth Porter deserves it just as much as anybody. Legacy player at K-State. I mean, he's sacrificed. He's developed him, and he's really bought into special teams. I mean, just as much as anybody. So yeah, I like that they did 7. That it's a player vote, and that the players voted so highly of all these guys that they have to be named captains. What surprised me is I never really thought about it, but you can only have so many captains, so they're going to rotate. So I'd like to see who's the first ones out there. That's going to be a little nugget for us to see who the first ones are.
The first ones, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's pretty easy to say that the undisputed leader of this team is going to be Will Howard this season. Number one, because he's a quarterback, and typically quarterbacks are the face of the team, but he has been one of the most vocal guys. We've heard from him in many different situations. And obviously, I mean, he just speaks so well for himself, but he's really just taking this leadership of not just being the QB1, but being like, I want to be the face. I want to be the representative of this team as we move forward the season. And so I expect Will Howard will be probably out there for the first game. Never know. But I didn't see necessarily any surprises from the captain's perspective. But the players did a great job in their selections, no doubt.
Absolutely. The captains are really important, but the team is just full of leaders. So was there anybody left off? I mean, you could probably say somebody, but, I think they nailed down exactly who, when you come to think of this team, who the leaders are. And I think the 7 that were picked are, stand-up guys, my guys.
Our guys. Awesome. And then last thing we wanted to talk through has been some big updates in the realignment space the past 24 to 48 hours. Some Big J journalists been reporting that the ACC is potentially going to be accepting the University of California, Berkeley, Stanford, and SMU into the conference. ESPN's Pete Thamel has reported the 3 schools are pushing to join the league, and they would take a reduced share or even no revenue payouts from the ACC in order to join the conference. It sounds like Cal and Stanford would take a reduced share of an ACC media payout, which does make me wonder how Cal can even pay for that. All things considered, their athletic department has not been doing so hot from the record, as well as the fact that, just doesn't seem like they're putting a lot of effort into it. But then SMU would potentially take no broadcast revenue from the league for the first 7 years that they would be in the conference. And alumni would apparently help bridge the loss of revenue for that school. This whole realignment piece is just so frustrating because, I understand it from Cal and Stanford's perspective of not necessarily wanting to get left out and not wanting maybe to be independent. But you're going to be sending your Olympic sports athletes across the country to participate baseball, volleyball, probably on commercial flights, etc. So for Cal and Stanford specifically, Chef, do you think this makes sense? It just doesn't, we can't put 2 and 2 together here.
I don't make any sense of it. And, you and Bob are really heavy into the realignment stuff. This is all kind of news to me that it's basically official. So, there's always been rumors and, there's Twitter people that claim to know everything. And they've been saying this for a long time, but, it's just a wonky time in our sport. And I can get on my soapbox and, start screaming at the clouds saying, this isn't my collegiate sports from 2009, but it's just silly to do that. It's just the times we're in. I think we're going to have to eventually separate football and basketball from the NCAA and, have to be their own separate body and let these collegiate sports become regional. I think that's the answer really, because it's just 2 different planets that we're living on. No offense to women's softball and stuff like that, and women's volleyball, but it's just a different world. And I think it would be just better if that's how it was managed, but it's just a wonky time. And SMU, the desperate times call for desperate measures. I would never in my life think that this would 7 years without any, that's just crazy. So if you want to go down with the sinking ship of the ACC, will this save the ACC? I don't think so. Once, Florida State still holds all the chips that they can get out of that grant of rights. So I can't really speak on anything else, but, it's just a weird time. And I'll be honest, I don't like it. No matter, even the Big 12 stuff, I don't like it.
Hey!
I've got 7 minutes.
We're talking about the ACC realignment, the news
What did I
that has
miss?
come out. Well, we're talking about SMU right now. So SMU has been reported that they would, for 7 years, take no money to join. They would take no media payouts to join the ACC, which for SMU, you're kind of swinging for the fences here. But I think this is a move that easily puts them in a different tier, and the ACC of getting into Texas as well. So it has been interesting. I mean, have you been keeping up with the ACC stuff? Oh, maybe not. Nobody is.
Not at all. I've seen a couple of tweets from like MH version 3 or whatever, but that's really all I've seen. I just think I just love that the ACC is they're going to be adding the great dome of the entire college football landscape to their conference. And if you know what I'm talking about, it's the big bubble that appeared at JD when the stadium field flooded. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But it gets them into Texas. The California part, if Cal and Stanford end up, I mean, that's more recruiting ground for the ACC too. But like, it's not the ACC anymore. It's not an Atlantic Coast Conference. I don't know what they're going to call it or how they're going to rebrand it. But
yeah, the dual coast conference, who the hell knows at this point. But well, we were about to just end the show, but you did just join. Did you have any fun thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
Nothing. I'm just saying hi.
You're just saying hi. That's fair. Well, Chef just went away. Bob Trollsby did join us, which is always great. But thanks everyone for listening to our first quick hit of Cocaine Willie today. If you haven't listened to our latest full episode, we did just release a really fun What If K-State scenario show this past Monday that you can find on our YouTube, on Spotify, Apple, wherever the hell you listen to your podcasts. It's probably there. Please do follow us and subscribe on those platforms to get the latest full episodes and quick hits as football season starts 8 days from now. And if you're on Twitter or Instagram, follow the show at Cocaine Willie, or follow us individually at Bob Trollsby, at Chef Andre Napier, and at Matt Marchesini. And you will hear from us next week as we do a Southeast Missouri State football preview, which will be very exciting. So for all of us here at Cocaine Willie, enjoy your Friday. And Chef isn't even here to do the thing, so we're probably just going to end it unless you want to go for it, Bob Trollsby.
That's right.
Let's ride.